So we talked a little bit about the patch and the meta, and obviously Twitter's had a lot of higher level players saying they don't like the game. Some people are claiming the meta is worse than Triple Crab, which is oh boy, Zero's got some stuff to say about that one.
I will.
You know, so what's up with the state of the game? I think first I want to get rid of a damn myth that everyone's been talking about. I feel like this has kind of become a meme because of like the brine water zone screenshots between you guys and FT Wins. But Triple Zooka is not actually the meta. It's funny, but I think most comps have double instead of Triple Zooka.
Yeah, I just think brine water is so all over the place, and pencil is so good on that map considering mid, especially for zones. Like you can just camp over it, but triple shot just works there because you have free range of shooting wherever you want with Zooka, and then on top of that you can have 3 kind of shots. Like you can have one playing stealthy, one and looking for picks, the other 2 either farm, or one plays more playing playing for control and spacing mid and on their enemy side, and then that one just farms Zooka only as like a kind of support way. But I don't think it's triple Zooka that we're all playing. Like that's just like the one map everyone's seeing now and everyone's playing it on.
That or cheesing something like 10 comps.
Yeah.
Triple Zooka into 10s is very good. Stuff like that. So
I don't
happy about that.
yeah, I wonder why. But I mean, outside of that, what do we? The state of the game to me, I still think this is one thing I've noticed just from like a bunch of talks in general. I think this is a very hard meta to be consistent in. It feels very volatile in terms of how matches flow with Zooka's. Just it feels not. I don't want to say pure random because obviously it's not, but it does feel very, I guess, volatile in a sense. And it feels difficult to like constantly adjust to it. It's definitely been a meta where I think the game feels out of your control a lot more than it ever has before. Like, even in Crab meta. And Crab meta had different problems to me. Like, it's not to say it didn't have flaws, but the game felt in control with Crab meta. It felt too in control. This feels like the opposite. It feels like things can shift way too easily at times.
I would say, at least in, like, Crab meta, the better team would always win. Like, actually, just the better team would always win. But now it feels like you can just randomly lose games because you get like Zooka off a spawn and there goes your special rotation. And then they have specials faster than you again, so it's just like, it snowballs so hard now, it's not even funny.
This is a joke, but awareness death, just look at the map.
Just react.
Just react faster.
React.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's really an important thing where like it's really easy for a small mistake to snowball you, and that's kind of like something this game has a problem with in general, where it is a very snowball-heavy game, and so some things in the meta need to work to counteract that, and unfortunately, I think Zooka only makes it feel more snowball-heavy than it already was, which is a definite problem right now.
Yeah, definitely from the Crab to Zooka, order to chaos, just absolutely what Jared said. You can just lose a game in seconds.
I mean, do we want to talk about like? Do you think the double Zooka is like the best comp? Do you think that at the end of this, double Zooka is going to remain what's on top of the meta, or do you think that there will be some comp that comes out on the other end that's better than Zooka?
I actually don't think double Zooka will be the best at the end. I feel like some crazy bubble comp will be better near the end if given enough time. If the developers don't just kill Zooka in like next month. Like if they don't do that, I don't think double Zooka will be meta. It's just a matter of time, just finding the right comp right now.
I still think having one Zooka is fine anyway. I just feel like it's being. I feel like the problem is a lot of players are getting just drowned out by Zooka, and they're just everyone. I'm sorry to say this, but our community is very whiny at times, and they will complain over anything.
Friendly fire.
I will, and I will get to that. I will get to that. But it's also for perspective too. Like when I played the Crab meta, I didn't enjoy it to where we're just sitting back and getting specials. And yeah, you guys are right. It's definitely like an order kind of style where you're basically just making sure you're holding everything down with Crab, and that there's nothing you can do towards it other than just whoever's better as a team and has better Crab positionings and placements and comboing with the AoE damage with machine and things like that. But I feel like as a frontline, you can do a lot more when it comes to shot now, considering you can just, pop Zooka. Obviously, it's bad at times where you just farm it, shoot it randomly, and then you get a kill out of the sky into spawn. I think that is dumb at times, but I do feel like it brings more of a risk factor now since we have a lot of what's it called? You kind of have to play more mechanic-wise instead of just playing off with the special. Like you have to be able to open up the field and do certain things as well. It's not just only let me farm Zooka, let me farm Zooka. Like better shots will actually take the chance to punish those Zookas and make sure they get out of position, or they'll look for more fights and take better control of certain spots of the maps, like choke points and stuff like that.
I would say there's a lot more main to special weapon interactions than crab meta. Like,
yeah, it feels
like a factor.
I feel like even towards the end of crab meta build, like we were seeing stuff like, oh, let's run some Neo, let's run sword. Like there is options, just people weren't playing them because they weren't easy at all.
Yeah, I feel like
I
feel like that might be the same thing with this.
Yeah,
like for example, Bubble. But I don't think we're running into like 3 Zookas as of right now. Maybe like 1 or 2 maps where people were just farming like brine water, but I don't think it's a general like 3 Zookas, everyone's spamming it 24/7. I still feel like even if you're zooking like with 3 people, it's still not as stupid considering you can just punish those. It's a better punishment with Zooka, like you can go up, punish that player if he's out of position, or just chase him down and shark him out, and then once he Zookas, you kill it. But
I think when you realize that Cooler is contributing to the fact that like, oh, there's more spam than usual just because you can just pop it and you can have more. Like we didn't have that in crab meta.
Yeah.
We didn't feel as spammy. We didn't use Cooler, which we probably should have back then, like looking back.
No, definitely not. You would just get walled out like triple crab. It would be too much. But I think like one thing, also Cooler was just worse, but I think one thing, just brief tangent on why I don't like crab to Zooka meta comparisons is like, I think a lot of what separates the meta is there is so much more stuff now. Like there is more specials in the game. There's more kits in the game. There's more maps in the game. And like there's a lot of different factors as to why one can prefer one over the other. And it's hard to say like, if crab was meta during the time we had this many kits and stages and stuff, would it have been as bad?
No.
I don't know. So, brief tangent, but that's why I don't like the comparison. It's just a very different game 1 year later, of course. But I think personally, double Zooka does have a factor of being a lot easier. If one shot fucks up and you need a Zooka, having another one that can do the same thing, it makes it easier. And Zooka, like, obviously the amount of work you need to set up a good Zooka versus, like, a good bubble is very different from each other. Especially on lockout, so... And in a way, like, I try to say this a bit, but the easier something is, the more consistent it is. That is still a factor you care about in competitive. Like, that's why 20xx perfect charger meta isn't a thing, because you don't hit all your shots. So, in the same way here, like, even if bubbles work in theory, they also have to be good enough to set them up enough to counter Zooka when it matters. And that's something we haven't seen in tournament, like, to a large scale. And I don't know if we will, but maybe, But that's the thing, I think the comp part Jared talked about is the main thing, is like, there's a lot of like this theory stuff with Kraken or Bubble and stuff, but the question is like, is there actually a comp that works well enough to put that into practice? And that's the part where I really don't know.
It's a bit too soon to tell. Like, it's only been a week after the patch, and we're just like hard debating comps and stuff.
I mean, I think there's a lot more limited options than there should be. I wish there were more kits, because, like, the bubble options we talked about, like, you either have a lack of bomb, you have a weapon that struggles with fighting, or you have a weapon that doesn't get a lot of bubble. There's no bubble weapon with the same ease of use as, like, a splatter shot, Like, it's harder to fit bubble into comps because of that. And, like, if there was, like, I don't know, say, like, a 52 with suction bomb and bubble, maybe this would be way easier to find a comp that fits it, because that would solve a lot of problems. Or even, like, more cooler options to, like, make that easier, or etc., something like that. Yeah. And so I think the difficulty is, like, it takes a lot of time to theorycraft a comp, and I don't even know if teams are going to want to do that, because next month is stacked with tournaments. Like, there's going to be SWC, there's Sendu's tournament, like the Platinum Cup thingy that I was talking about, there's Sendu's tournament, there's IDLE, which you need a different comp for already, and there's 20xx. Like, there's a lot of events. And if you want to spend a lot of time trying to solve the meta when there's tournaments coming up, it might impact your ability to play the game. At least for me, I've definitely considered, like, I just want to find something that works now before having to try to find something throughout the mess of tournaments that we're gonna have to play.
Yeah. I do feel like
100%.
either way it takes time. Like this happens a lot with a lot of comps. When Crab started to shut down, we still ran triple for a little bit in the beginning, and then about 2 or 3 weeks in, we started changing it, like sword, and like Jared said earlier, sword, double ball. People running double ball
Even
point.
ballpoint took a while to run. Like it was ballpoint double splash for a while.
Yeah.
Until we realized, like, actually, the ballpoint just kind of shit on the splash. Maybe we don't need 2 of them still.
I do feel like if we were to get more like weapons and more like different kits, it would be a lot different. Like for example, I feel like Inkjet. Yeah, I was about to get into that. I know. Inkjet and dualies. I feel like if that was put into the game very early, I do feel that would have been another weapon used constantly. For example, when we had Crab getting shut down because Inkjet got that buff, I feel people would have ran about like either 2 dualies, a Crab, and a ballpoint. Like that would have been a different, or like dually BP, and you have a splash and a machine, or just 2 splashes and things like that. And I feel like that would have been able to, take more ground as an aggro weapon and be more consistent with the game. It balances it out in a way. We still have aggro plays, we have more pushes, and we have something to fight against Crab, And even though Crab was like the beginning of the game, so it was still like the beginning, so not really, you can't really say as much to it, but it still was overused to an extent to where it needed to get shut down. That's probably going to be the same thing with Zooka, but right now it just got a slap on the wrist. You go ahead.
I will say this with like the shot pencil +1 comps, it's like you're running 2 shots and like I don't even think the main weapon for shot is accurate sense of paint. Like in my head I'm like thinking, oh, why don't we just run a bunch of mid lines, like sword, point, like have a zap and then.
And now you got bamboo for that too.
Bamboo.
I feel like if you're playing shot and you're not spamming it, if you're playing as well, for example, double shot, you can't just have both of them farming. One of them needs to be able to try to do something with that space that you're giving with shot.
I literally feel like the shots enable the spammy comp though, because it's the only weapon that can get that many Zookas and spam that much shit at you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
like
outside of like a charge up 10 build, which I have seen, you can actually do that with 10, but I don't know if that's very popular.
No, I've gotten 10 Zookas with no charge for 10.
I will admit though that shot does feel hard at times to play, like certain maps, and then you play certain comps. Like Knot and Pencil can just outrange that, and it just does so much to it where you can't really get in at certain times. And if you play against a tent that's really good and they can stall you out, it's also hard because the shot is trying to be a spam weapon right now, but the shot is also meant to go in. It's meant to be a frontline as well. It's not just meant to farm Zooka.
I don't think it's meant to be that much of a frontline. Like,
I feel like it is. I still think that the weapon can still be strong in many ways. It's just the way we all look at certain weapons. It's just all right, special. We're not also adding into the factor that we can do certain things with the weapon. Like I still feel like if you play sneaky with the weapon and be smart with it, it can be strong, like really strong. And if you have really good mechanics with the weapon, it will do its work. But
I mean,
those mechanics towards like Squeeze or any other like midline weapon, those that are like actual slayers. Like,
but the problem is a lot of people can't really play Squeezer. That's the thing. Some people can and some people just can't. And even with Squeezer being in the mix, you still can take faster fights with shot than Squeezer.
It's just again, people don't want to try because it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, Squeezer, to be fair, is a mash requirement. That's different. That starts to add stupid difficulties to it, but I mean, I think midlines are definitely like one of the answer to like double shot spam comps, because like I mean, S2, that was short range lowest point, was when like you would have CDS, Brella, H3, Bamboo, and like sometimes Zap, like it would just be 3 midlines in a comp altogether, and just that would be an absolute pain to deal with because everything just outranged you. Of course, in this game there's no MPU, so it's not as bad. Like it's not like you're getting killed in 1 less hit in this game like you were in the previous one. But it is still obviously good into it. It just does a midline comp have enough pieces to work against like a shot comp that's better built. Or maybe we'll see some kind of, if they spam a lot of shots, run this midline comp, but then they switch off all the shots and do like only 1 Zooka. Regardless though, I think 1 shot in comps is like pretty much going to stay regardless. It feels really weird to not have a shot in comps 99% of the time.
Agree.
I just don't think you run double because then you're just limiting like how much further up you can pay. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think double is good, but I think, like, one of the shot players needs to switch against certain comps. I think it depends heavily what you're fighting. So, like, I don't know what that other good weapon is, but, like, I think one of the shot players would have to be able to switch to, like, a more mid-range Slayer to me. Like, something that would cover what double shot is weakened to. I just don't know what exactly that weapon pool would be.
96.
Flash.
Honestly, maybe 96 Deca would be that.
Dualies.
96 Nautilus or V-Dually would be what come to mind for me.
I can see Dualies working,
Because
honestly.
I think CDS and Sword you need to be too dedicated for. I don't think that's like the easy swap. Unless if you played it for a while. It's like those, you know, Dually Nod and, what was the last one? 96 are like much more feasible, I think, to play. Maybe 52 slots into that too, because 52 can be good into mid lines. It's like maybe 52 would be one as well I can see people playing.
I've been trying it out. I think it can work. It just takes more time for that because we're not 100% sure anyway. Like I was saying that earlier, like running it in with the with shot, you can kind of focus more on being aggressive and taking space as the front line with 52, and then have the other shot just spam and be around the 52 to, like, you know, guard or play for trades and things like that. But it's very dependent. I don't know how it will run against certain comps as well, because it could just get domed out of the sky by certain things or shredded immediately.
It definitely has to be tested, but I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. Is like that's the kind of thing you'll want. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, outside of that, I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's too much different right now. There's still a decent bit of variety and stuff you can run with this, obviously. I think it's getting a little bit smaller, to be honest, but it's not. There's still a decent amount of other things that are viable right now.
I really
I agree.
Tent's like really good too, but that also has Zooka, so it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
Bro.
I mean, Tent's just another option for it.
Yeah.
Something
It just
to think
enables
about.
more like lane play.
It just takes time anyway. We're still into the new portable patch, so we're gonna basically figure out what will be better, or if it will stay the same, because things might just pop out of nowhere like Crab.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the rejoin DC thing. Yeah, because he DC. That plays when he joins. Yeah, I mean, I think Tent's strong, but Tent's one of those things like it's like Sword where like, yeah, it's good, but you have to have a guy that plays that weapon. You can't just put someone on it. They have to already know how to play it.
A guy
Or
who
they're just
plays
not-
10, interesting.
You know.
Yeah, you don't play 10, so.
Nah.
But, I don't know. I think it's like, it's not the worst spot for things ever, I suppose. Especially if double Zooka comps can be, like, beaten out. If it can become more 1x Zooka, I think it'll be a bit more tolerable, but...
It's more enjoyable for, like, I'd say mid-level or, like, high level, but for top level, it's frustrating, like, things not being consistent in your control when you feel like you're the better team in that aspect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That might be something to talk about, actually, because there is still a lot of mid to high level discussion that's like, but guys, look at this other option over here, but this is good. You know, and like, do you want to talk a bit about why, like, that sentiment isn't really shared amongst the more top teams? Why has it felt like,
Can you
I don't
elaborate on
care?
that?
Well, there's been a lot of talk.
Give me an example.
Like why aren't teams just running like a bunch of bubbles or Krakens to deal with it? This is clearly a counter. Let's not just spam a bunch of Zooka. It has counterplay. The whole kind of argument about that.
My only argument is that, like, you have to play against the better teams to think about, like, how will this even work? Like, maybe it might work in, like, lower level lobbies because they're not playing how the compound should be played. Like, I feel like mid-level's just running around, then they have their special, and then they get to kill somebody for fun, but, like, top level, they're, like, trying to take certain spots, make sure that we hold them, baiting out specials.
Yeah, I was gonna say, baiting out specials
Baiting out
is
specials
a
is a
lot.
big one. If you can get someone to burn Zooka on you, it's massive. You know?
And then if you have Cooler on, just jump out and just would it waste it completely? There isn't much you can do on that.
And it's like a good pop bubble is like really hard to get, but like a bad pop Zooka is still fine because it can still randomly find value. If you pop a bad bubble, you're still gonna have a bad bubble. It's not gonna do anything.
Yeah, if you don't get a
If
kill with
anything, it'll be
Zooka,
negative because you can't farm the next one because it'll just
you
leave
can't get
you.
the next one.
It's a huge weakness.
Zooka, you can farm it, and if you do if you miss the shots and you don't get a kill, you just try to get AoE damage off.
I'm gonna piggyback. Or Zero, you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I cut you off. I want to piggyback off of what Jared said. Like, top level is a lot more optimized in terms of how they play their comps. In terms of, you know, let's just run something else that isn't the double Zooka. And if you're fighting a double Zooka with let's say, the Junior 96 thing. It's so much harder to guarantee that value when you're fighting players who are that level of optimized on
And they might just say like, oh, just play it
Zookas.
more and optimize it, but it's like we don't have
It's-
time. We don't have
yeah.
time. Like that's the problem. Like I would love to try more things, but we don't have the time or the quality of practice to do that.
Yeah.
Unlike Japan does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get the sentiment a lot of like top players just aren't trying hard enough for it, which I hate. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think people
on,
understand
Jared.
how I think top level West right now, like as someone who's been at top level for a long time now, like, you know, longer than most of these guys, I think that the scene has never been more open to running different comps than it has been before.
Literally.
In
Yeah,
S2, most of the good teams just ran pure meta every time. The fact that there's like this much of difference in playstyle and weapon comps at top level is like, no, it is better than it ever has been in terms of willingness to experiment. It is the opposite of that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Coming from Splat 1 as well.
And it's not even just like weapon picks. Like these teams have like different ways they approach the game, and like I don't think people understand that either.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
we may have the same comps, but it'll be different. Like we're completely two different teams, us and Starburst.
Yeah.
Like if you just watch replays or anything.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's important to say. And also, like, you know, like you said, experimentation is harder and time consuming. Like, no one is obligated to do that. You know, just
We're not
because.
obligated, and we would want to if we wanted to optimize the game. If teams had a reason, but the only teams that have a reason right now are like teams that are going to Worlds. Those are like region diff. Like we can't just play those teams easily.
Yeah, it's unfortunately just not that simple at the end of the day, which, you know, sucks,
Yeah.
but it is what it is there. And, I mean, I think the game will still get better over time, but it's clearly going to... It's going to take some effort, and, yeah, I mean, I think that there's a good amount of stuff being tried right now, but it's important to really consider the amount of effort it takes, and stuff is not free.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of effort required and the fact that it takes definitely more than a week after a patch to really come up with a good answer to this. Like, it's been a week after the patch. Zooka's been prevalent for a little bit, but, you know, it's going to take a little bit for teams to really find a solid answer.
It's also worth noting in this case, if you're a team looking to play all these majors, the second the last major is over, there's another patch.
Yeah.
So, like, there's even less incentive than usual because there's going to be majors throughout the entire month in, like, a week and a half. And then after that, there's going to be another update, which will more than likely change things since they're also going to add a stage and weapons and possibly new specials or different main guns and stuff like that. So there's even less of a reason to, like, really try and force things when it's going to change by the time it's over and you want to just get some good results in when these tournaments are popping up.
Yep.
So, like in this case, the tournament schedule I think does really play a factor. November is like the most stacked month of tournaments for this entire year, outside of like maybe September's tournaments. Like there is a lot to consider there, and teams want to do well in it, not just push the game for some arbitrary reason. So,
I agree.
Facts.
We have no reason to push the game right now too, because at least in Jackpot's case, this patch is not going to be played on.
Yeah, exactly. You guys in
we
Worlds
don't
are going to
care.
have something different by then. There's going to be 2 patches by the time Worlds comes around. Or maybe just 1, actually, if they don't.
It's
If they
just
keep it
one
on the
patch.
old patch, it'll probably just be the next one. But it's like, you guys have a wait anyway. Like, some stuff will carry over, but also, like, yeah, that's a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
So, I think that's an important factor to get. We'll see what happens, but as a whole, I would still say I don't like the state of the game. I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be, but I think it's hard to be consistent, it's very frustrating, and it definitely feels a lot more out of your control than ever. But it still does have diversity, it still does have things that can be tried, and there's still a variance in how all the top teams are playing compared to, like, crap meta, so... I mean, I think it's not that bad, but it does have its own fair share of problems that I can understand why people would feel worse about them than what we dealt with. If you're, like, more okay with that style of control, then I think crab meta could be more appealing. But if you really want to fight, then obviously crab meta is not going to feel as good. To me, I think it's just very different preference styles, but, you know, hopefully it gets better regardless.
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us to our final topic of the podcast, which is the future. What do we want to see from the game? in the future to fix this? How can we get to a spot where the game is fun again? Like back when Jetpack got fixed. What do we want to see changed?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a big-
Zooka's the obvious one. We've talked a little bit about Zooka nerfs, but I'd probably like to let Zero have a talk about it. Let's say you're in charge of Nintendo. You're in charge of fixing Shot and Zooka. Yeah, maybe not a great idea, but...
I think we just make the bullets bigger for Shot. But
Bullets.
honestly, it's just very dependent on what they do. I feel like we definitely need more weapons. We can't, you know, expect a lot and then be like, all right, we can hope for a nerf and then have nothing else to play. Like we haven't gotten much recently, and all the things that they brought out, like weapon-wise, haven't been as valuable in a way, to me at least. So I feel like with constant consistency with giving us weapons, more maps, and a bunch of stuff revolving around that, I feel like we'll have better games and better meta in a way. But Zooka definitely will probably need to get a nerf. And I think, what was it, Jared said earlier with the cooler,
The special depletion thing, yeah.
special depletion. I feel like that having that will probably be very big for Zooka. I feel like that would give it more of a fair punishment in a way. And overall, I don't know. It's very dependent on what happens soon. We don't know what's gonna happen in the next like month, and we don't know how everything's gonna change. So if everything does change, how I would want to change it,
yeah, that's good to know.
okay, I would definitely say bigger variety of comp-wise. So I would like to see obviously just one shot in play instead of two, or even sometimes three, or squeezer, and definitely more midline. I feel like having more midline would be strong and more fun, I guess, in a way. I had a lot of fun playing CDS and Splatter Shot Pro in 2. So having those two weapons in the mix, and then you can also run like Shot back then, because if you want to, yeah, if you, I agree with that.
210p jail.
Yeah.
Like if you wanna, for example, use K-Shot missiles, right, with Forge and CDS. That comp was super aggro, but you had, you know, basically in the same format. K-Shot would farm missiles, you farm Zooka here, and then you had other weapons that can, you know, be kind of aggressive or do something crazy and make an opening for your team, and still have like a bunch of control, or, you know, it wasn't just random. People were actually playing with mechanics and doing certain things together as a unit. It wasn't just, let's dive it down, do whatever we got to do to win, and just farm Zooka, you know?
Yes.
So, what else can I think of?
I mean, I think Zooka nerfs is a big one, but also Shot 200p. I think it should be 210, but 200p at the minimum should
I think 200p could be fine.
200p would be fine.
190 does bring it like so fast. I do think having 200 would go well for it. Give it more than just that little slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Zap
should be 200 too while we're here.
I think Zap should be 200. I think Shot should be 200.
That should be abolished.
Zap should be demolished. I wonder why.
Free the Zap players. I mean, that brings up something I want to see in the patch. I want to see more cooler weapons, like good ones. Most obvious pick is Kunder, obviously. I think Kunder could be good in this game. Like, give it 45 damage and 190p cooler.
Okay, I'll fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think another really interesting one, Dreadringer. Dread paints a shit ton. Dread gets like 2k paint in a game. Dread could absolutely be a cooler weapon. Give it a bomb that helps its fighting, like a splat bomb or a torpedo or a fizzy, and give it cooler.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not fizzy, because that's similar.
I genuinely thought that weapon was gonna be broken when I saw it, but
the paint is like the most underrated thing ever. That thing paints so well. It could actually be a very cool support. I would really like to see it. And I think in general, like, there would be other cooler options that I'd want to see. I don't even know what else we could do, but there's got to be some other options of, like, maybe like a Beluga Dually if it gets Fizzy Bomb again, maybe. Or, you know,
regular dualies coming out.
or maybe Wiper has another kit that as Stamper could give Stamper cooler, could work. Like, I don't know, I just want to see more cooler options, and I especially want to see cooler options that are flexible into other roles, that aren't hard locked to support. Because I think that makes it a lot easier to run like a bubble weapon or a vacuum weapon, you know, other support specials. If there's a cooler weapon you could pick that's like a frontline that gets enough cooler output, you know. If it has to be like a 220 Stamper or like a 200p Dread or something, I think that could be interesting. But I think cooler variety would be the most helpful thing to have more of, because it just opens up a lot of the other support options in the game. That's like one of the main things I'd love to see.
I just need more variety, man.
Yeah.
I think for me that makes the game like so less enjoyable right now. It's just like how much chip damage is like so crazy in this game. I feel like everything needs to get like nerfed. Like radiuses need to get nerfed, bombs need to cost more.
Yeah.
Can't spam as much. Like
Yeah,
when you
Yeah.
have all these things do chip damage, you're like demeaning the facts like blasters exist. Like why would you run them when you can just run bomb slam with like other things? Like just everything does too much damage. You'll die randomly.
I would like to see bomb damage outside hit go from 30 to 20.
Yeah.
No longer four-shotting, no longer comboing as well. It would be very much just the lethal hit is what you are moving people out of the way from. I think that would be a good way to tone it back, where like it would still obviously move people. You still get one shot, but you can get chipped by a bomb and it's not going to combo with stuff as easily, especially if you get like with that change, you could get hit by 2 splat bombs, outside hit, and a Zooka hit, and you'll live.
And I think changes like that would like enable like taking spots with your main weapon instead of just like sitting back and letting your bomb do the work for you.
Yeah. I feel like this game has turned into more of just AoE spam in general. It's just more of
because you don't have armor, so you'll just die.
Yeah.
And even Rapid feels it to me. I played long Rapid and yeah, the long range, having AoE with that long range, like range has some, but range has to be like in a Nautilus, in a squeeze it range. Long Rapid can just shoot people. It doesn't get shot back very often.
Yeah.
It feels very different. That's kind of why I like shot coming back into the play. I feel like having shot, obviously now it's more Zooka spam, but in the beginning it was more like everyone's using it to fight and do things and play like the way we did before, where it wasn't just using AoE spam. You're using more of your mechanics to be better than the enemy team, to where you can beat them in fights and take more space, so that you guys can, you know, have better games rather than just sitting back and just throwing bombs and specials. Because that's what the game seems to be turning out to, where you're just throwing AoE, chip damage, and looking for those specific combos rather than showing that you can, I guess, be better mechanically and individually. But yeah,
that's just
I
how
definitely think we have to be careful with long-range area of effect stuff, but I think bombs are really the main culprit. Like, it's nothing new. I mean, bombs are a problem in S2 as well. It's better, like, the radius is smaller than in S2, and the, like, LDE is nerfed and stuff, but as much as progress as that's been, I think we haven't done enough. I think bombs are the main culprit.
I don't think there's been progress. I feel like it's, like, been, like...
It's been extremely gradual, but, like, it's there. Like, Fizzy is more expensive, Burst is more expensive. Every bomb has a smaller radius. Like, that is a change they did in this game. Like, outside hit. Insane. But it's small. It's not big changes.
Yeah,
but
it just doesn't seem like
there.
it's enough. It doesn't seem like it's enough in that sense.
I mean, that's how I describe a lot of Splatoon's balancing, where, like, a lot of changes they make are good, but they aren't enough to, like... They aren't enough to be really impactful. and yeah, that's what I would... I mean, even, like, bomb to 25 damage would be nice to see. Like, then you can run 0.1 bomb defense, I guess, and then it's under... Like, it's a 4-shot.
You can
like,
have bomb defense with X specials again. Like, I don't know why.
I don't think that change would be good. I think that change hurts things more than it helps. Like, I
there's
understand
already so
why.
much chip damage in the game. Like, you're not gonna have these, like, okay, how do I say this? You're not gonna have somebody solo pop inkjet and nobody's gonna hit them. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they'll do 48 damage, but, like, you're still gonna two-shot them because you'll ideally have your team there to do chip damage. Like, it's not as harmful as you think it would be, honestly.
Yeah.
In an actual coordinated setting.
I just think it has the potential to nerf specials that are weaker, like Slider would be one, for example, where it loses its combo number. It's like, that's the thing I don't like about sub-defenses. It's one of those changes where, yes, it might hit the things that matter, but it's also going to accidentally hurt shit that doesn't deserve it, so I prefer more exact targeted changes on the things that need it. Also, I just don't like the gear dependency in general. I think we have too many utility subs in this fucking game. Like, can I just say, like, stealth jump should just be how your jump is. 0.1 Q should just be how your jump is. And then you could run other things.
I know, right? That would be so
like, I hate the amount of gear in this game that just feels like I have to run this. It's annoying as hell. Like, especially on more gear-dependent weapons, which I don't have as much of anymore, at least. But, like, it's so noticeable to have there. So, and that's my other argument against is I just, you know, then you play subs off, and then the bomb defense that's been helping is gone. And now what do you do? So, and we're gonna have to play subs off for the most important tournaments in the game, so...
I just wish this game's direction took a more, like, aggressive position instead of passive position. Like, you're sitting back with your with your bombs and specials, but like I'd like to see moving up with your body positioning.
Yeah, I
Your
agree.
main weapon.
That's why I was talking about the shock thing, but it just turned into spam because everyone focuses more about special spamming and AoE chip damage.
I don't think that's entirely due to like how the weapons are. It's also because the maps, like obviously. But,
Yeah.
like,
Yes, the maps are a
agree.
big factor in it, of course. Like, it's
Yeah.
easier to approach if you could be more spread out. It's easier to sneak your way in, or... Like, honestly, I think the thing big maps hurt the most is long-range AoE. Like, it is... You can't bomb spam a choke as easily if there's, like, 3 chokes across the map.
Exactly.
You can't spam all the bombs over there. It's like, you know, possibly this might be a thing where, over time, if they continue to add good stages in these updates, like, better, and we continue to get stage reworks, and we improve our map lists and don't put garbage in them like Eeltail, then, you know, I'm just throwing a stage out there randomly, you know, like Brian would be another.
That's fine.
If all of that starts to change, that might be a thing that subtly makes it better that I don't think people will really talk about, but, you know, that's a big if, you know, maybe Crab Leg was a fluke, and we'll get more stuff to the level of quality of Ship Shape to where it's better, but it still has a lot of the Splatoon 2 stage design problems, just not as much as Splatoon 3 was, so.
Yeah.
But one change I want to see, I would like to see buffs to the melee specials, to specials where you have to go in, which is Slider and Stamp. We already got it with Kraken, so I can't include Kraken here. But I think Stamp and Slider are also a good solution to that same problem, where like, okay, this special, to get value, you have to be in their face. You can't sit back. So if those specials are good, you are reducing the amount of shit being thrown at you at a distance, and I think that is a very positive change. Like, I think that would, you know, you have to be careful how you do it, obviously. But I think, like, right now, how many good specials are ones with a shit ton of range? Zooka, Jetpack, Crab, maybe Whale now, Missiles, you know, Tack is an exception. Like, most of the specials that are good right now are long-range ones. Having some short-range specials being good would reduce the amount of long-range shit thrown at you. Just like Cooler has had that impact. Like, I've played against no Cooler teams sometimes, and then just been like, they have like every special in the game. I'm getting Jetpack, then I'm getting Crab, then I'm getting Zooka, then I'm getting Jetted, then they have another one, you know? And having specials where, okay, no, they have to run something up close. That has to go in. Reduces that a lot. That's another indirect way to fix that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those aggressive specials, especially Slider and Hammer, the risk-reward for using them is just way too high. When, you know, all the specials you mentioned, I could just pop a Zooka from my side of the map and maybe get value. If I don't, okay, I'll just farm another one. But, you know, the Slider, pop the Slider or pop the Hammer, you go in, and if you don't get value, that's a huge detriment.
Yeah, the risk reward for it is just really awful. I mean, are there any other specific changes you'd want to see personally, Shadow? Like, is there any weapon or special you want to see that we don't see a lot of right now, or you want to see more for whatever reason? Outside of 10.
It's kind of a well, yeah, outside of 10. I want to see 10 buffed. No, I think what you mentioned about
Inkstorm in the meta more.
yeah, Inkstorm.
I
Inkstorm
think
can be
it's
really
gotta add
good.
Storm weapons. I think Storm is fine.
Yeah.
But like,
Like
Nautilus is
Splasher-
the only one I think is good.
Explasher is crazy underrated right now. I mean, Pencil is better, but Explasher can be really
I
annoying.
want to believe that, but I know too
want
much
to
about
believe
this
it
weapon.
too.
I'm sorry. It's not.
It's
I think the main
it's
weapon
not
is fine.
better than
It's
anything
just
else.
everything
Its
else is
matchups
the
into
same.
specials are like 595. They are abysmally
It
bad.
feels Explasher right
like
now
you are
feels
fighting
like
a
Hydra.
boss fight every time there is a special on the field.
Yeah, same thing as Hydra, where change up the meta a little bit. That weapon could be crazy strong. It combos with Storm.
I
really
think
well.
what Expo needs, as like an Expo player, it needs a special, like what S2 did, like as shitty as Baller was for it, it was still a way of, okay, I'm being raid, I'm just gonna be in a Baller, so like at least I cannot get killed by the raid. It wasn't a good solution, but it mattered. Expo does not have that option. It doesn't have anything to help its mobility, and it doesn't have anything to help its survivability. So like if you get crabbed or jetpacked or Zooka, you don't have a response. You can't just throw a fucking Inkstorm at them or a point sensor at them. It doesn't do anything. So like I think that's what its second kit would need. That's why I think something like Crab on it could be cool, because like, okay, they jetpack, I crab. And like maybe I'll still die to the, like maybe my crab will get broken or something, but at least I have like an option to stall and keep myself alive as a slow weapon, or potentially like still start my own pushes. That's what I think Expo kind of needs. That or they have to find a way to make it be able to deal with those specials better, but like I don't know how you do that without over-tuning the weapon too much.
Yeah.
A
I
shot
agree with
velocity
that.
buff would be nice though for sure with how fast everything is. At least like make Expo a little bit faster too with the shot speed.
I can see that. Kunder as well. You mentioned getting cooler maybe.
Kunder would be
weapon-
good. Can I just say Kunder would be good to get as a support that can be picked into Charger better. An anti-Charger support. We don't have an anti-Charger support. We need it. It would be good. You can throw
And
torpedoes at them and you have a shield so you can paint. Like, please.
Give undercover damage buffs, please.
The 2-shot shield should not do 95 damage. It's
I know.
That's been in the game for over 5 years now.
It's tragic, really. It needs like a little something.
What would you buff, Zero? What do you want?
I don't know.
You want
Honestly,
I mean,
you guys-
parry is one I know you want.
Yeah, I really do would want dualies as a whole just to be buffed. Personally, I would love to see CDS being in the meta and full meta and being played consistently.
Velocity buffs on CDS, please.
Yeah,
Velocity
Oh,
or
okay.
spread would be so huge for
You
that.
mean
one.
all dualies?
Velocity spread would probably be so
I
good.
think the spread is fine. It's just the bullets take. You have to track so hard. and,
Yeah.
like, because you just can't.
You have to have really good tracking, and even then, it just doesn't work at times. So no matter what, that weapon doesn't get its like
Yeah.
value or glory for it. But
Yeah.
I feel like having that and dualies as well, like having the
We
crab
need
is fine
dualies
because
in the
the
meta in
suction bomb.
general. That weapon's so cool.
What weapon?
Dualies,
What,
like
CDS?
all of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, they're all just.
Have
It's such
dualies
a,
ever been bad for the meta? Ever.
No.
Exactly.
that was such a phenomenal design that they brought onto the game, and the way they brought it to the game was just so perfect in my eyes. And I felt like the fact that we lost it in this game sucked. I
Yeah.
do feel like
I
K
thought they
Pro.
were too broken apparently.
Yeah, it made no sense to me. I do feel like K Pro would be cool to have around again, considering that's a midline
It's
weapon.
in
and-
the game.
No. I mean like comp wise, but
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's funny. It's just they don't
Yeah.
like that weapon. They were like,
it's
we'll
very,
put it
yeah.
in the game because people like it, but we're not making it good.
yeah. I think overall, like dualies needs a buff.
Oh yeah,
think the
H3 would be
whole-
another one someone in chat brought up. I'd like to see H3 again.
I'd like to see H3 get buffed
H3
again.
was cool.
I would be cool to see certain players bring out H3 again for support. That would be cool to see. I remember we used to run that a lot too.
Yeah.
So,
What about
Yeah,
you,
Jen-
Jared? What would you want to see buffed?
Obviously CDS. yeah.
Outside of the dude we
Whoa.
just talked about,
Anyways,
what other weapons you want to see?
me and Jared are CDS believers. Sorry, guys.
I'd like to see. No, that's not last year. No.
That'll be my bad.
Just say custom range blaster. Make sure
I'd like to see L3's buffs in some way.
Yeah, I like that one. Dude, I miss
I-
L3D's kit. in S2.
If we had L3 in chat, that would go so hard.
Yeah,
It
really.
would be so good.
Hammer is just so tragic.
L3's and bows need to be buffed the hardest in my opinion.
Yeah.
The bows?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
think
think they
Reflux
can,
could be really cool with like an aggressive kit.
Yeah, it would be so
Like,
cool with an aggressive kit.
Reflux is surprisingly mobile. I think that thing is made to be like, maybe that could be the cooler option. I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be kind of sick.
I did enjoy it honestly.
Plus,
for,
if we
like,
give
L-
Reflux a good kit, you don't have to fight missile spam Reflux, so it's more fun too.
Literally. Give it like Storm and Torp or something. That'd be so nice.
Ooh.
I want like Torp, Splat Bomb, Fizzy, or Burst. Like I want an immediate impact bomb. I think that would help it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dapple's another one, but Dapple just won't. Dapple's the third kit thing. It's doomed.
Yeah.
Dapple's had the worst kit luck in the series, I think. No.
Probably.
They're always half kits, bro. Like,
They're
they're
better.
always that close to being good.
Yeah.
I want not to die. No offense, sorry guys. I want that weapon. in
Nah,
the-
that's what weapons we want. Nerfed. That isn't
Yeah,
shot.
That's
Do you know
the
what weapon I want nerfed? Junior.
You're
No, I'm
broke.
kidding. I want Bubble to be reworked though, honestly. I don't like how Bubble interacts with things in this game. I do legitimately want that special to be tweaked, but they'll never do it.
Actually, hot take. I want to see Nova come out.
That's
and it be-
crazy.
I want to see that. That weapon look. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie. Pulling out that weapon when it first came out, it looked really fun to play. I kind of liked it in a way. It reminded me of Forge and Shot, like Had a Baby, and they were like, "Yeah, this is it."
I think it's long arrow spray actually.
Aerospray.
It's long
Yeah.
arrow spray.
It's long arrow spray.
It is
Yeah,
just.
right now it's long arrow.
They could have
spray.
made it something different though, man. That weapon design is so uninspired. They could do more.
I like that weapon. I feel like having that buff would be kind of cool to see, but who knows on Earth when that will ever happen. that
Give
weapon ever
Mocha
becomes,
CDS the velocity buffs.
Yeah.
I think it needs that. I think it needs that 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of this is really just kits, is what I'm noticing. I mean, there's some buffs we want, but there's a lot of stuff where it's like, I would really like a kit to be in the game, huh? It would be nice to get some actual good kits. Yeah, I mean...
3 bow kits.
I don't know, unless there's any other random change that we'd want that we haven't brought up. I think it's probably every hope we have here. Is there anything different you guys would want in an update? Maybe...
New swords, new bows. We
Yeah.
got 2 of them still.
A new
Maps, I want
dually.
maps.
Umbrella.
New dually. No, actually, that'd be kind of cool to see new dually coming out in the play.
I want to see a dually that has the gimmick of the Grisco dually in multiplayer. Like, obviously not as powerful, but I love the idea of the roll itself doing damage. Like, imagine you have a guy at like 30 HP and you just roll into him to fucking kill him. That would be so cool. Like, I don't know how
The
you
main
balance,
weapon
but
would
that
have
would be
to be
such a
so
cool
bad.
idea. I don't even think you'd have to make the main bad. Just make the roll damage like kind of low, so it's risky. Like, you're still rolling into a person's face. Like, that feels like a weakness. You just, you know, can't be as giant or high damage as a Grisco dually, but it could be cool.
I agree, honestly. That would be kind of interesting to see, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Alright, though, unless anyone have anything we want to add?
I think that's for me.
I love Splatoon 3.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll probably be back, like, I don't know how often we'll do this, maybe every week or two. Depends on the amount of topics we have at hand, and maybe we'll open up to some topics from you guys. I would recommend...
Feels like stirring up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take note of the things that happen over the week on Twitter for stuff in the future. And these episodes will be uploaded to YouTube in different parts, so if you want to catch them, there will be a playlist soon. You can look for us on social media. You can find us all on Twitter and hopefully a different platform eventually. But these VODs will be kept up on YouTube for people who want to watch later. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. Thanks for watching.